Yo, what's up? Welcome back to a special edition of Sports Talk with KC. This is Titletown X represent X's and O's a game preview show with X's and O's Sports Xavier Houston Senior. Back as always, your boy KC, Karan Twin Caddell on Facebook. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe to TitletownTV, as well as please like and share and comment on X and O Sports by Xavier Houston and follow his articles for Tide 100.9. Today we'll be getting to some college football games from this week, for this week and last week as well. Week zero. Our first game we're going to review is probably the Vandy um,
Hawaii.
Hawaii game. Yeah, Vandy won 63-10. We'll start off with them. Just preview the first SEC team to play this week. Quarterback Wright completed 13 of 21 passes for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And then he ran for another 163 and 2. So very dynamic and dual threat type of guy.
Oh yeah, man. One of those guys that you got always playing for his feet as well as his passing as well. This doesn't tell very much for Vandy season going forward. Hawaii is one of those teams that you're gonna be competing for later on in the future for a playoff spot. But Vandy should be a lot better than they were last year. Not very much to move off on, but I see some positive for Vandy going forward into the season. If they can keep this up, maybe they could, be one of the better teams out east. I know Florida will be back with AR-15 or wherever he's going by now. Of course, Georgia being the defending champs in the whole nation, and of course, Kentucky steadily getting better. Any other East teams
Tennessee, man.
Tennessee. Oh, forget about them. Oh yeah, Held and Hooker. You see Missouri doing anything this year?
No.
Same
I think it falls off once you get past. I mean, you're going to have Georgia competing, of course. You're going to have Kentucky making a play, Tennessee making a play. Florida's supposed to be much improved up under Billy Napier. But after that, it's kind of a little bit of a tail-off in the East. I mean, it's very similar to the West as well. Maybe a little more top-heavy over there. Got a couple more teams able to compete. But, yeah, it's pretty solid line cut between those top 4 teams and the bottom 3 teams in that side of the bracket.
Who are the top 4 teams in the East for you? Of course, you got Georgia probably 1. And
then, right now, I would say Georgia 1, Tennessee 2.
Oh, wow.
Kentucky 3, Florida 4. But, of course, that just is a prediction based off of what happened last year, how the season ended. And you never know what these teams are going to be able to do after an offseason. Like I said, a coaching change at Florida, things of that nature. Hendon Hooker's coming back for his second year to start at Tennessee after having a phenomenal season last year.
Right.
Same with Will Levis. And then you turn around and you look at Georgia and you look at what all they lost. Are they at that point where they're able to really compete with Alabama and say that they're able to not need a rebuild, but just able to reload? Are they there yet or not?
Oh yeah, for sure. Me personally, I like Kentucky. They got a very experienced defense. Will Levis, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. Should be a first round pick if we continue to build on his first season last year for Kentucky. Florida is always going to be one of the teams in the East you have to keep an eye on because of their recruiting. They're still one of the top recruiting schools in the nation. Of course, Anthony Richardson coming back for finally a full season of him being a starter after Emory Jones left. Well, yeah, now
Arkansas. Not Arkansas. Arizona State
is what it is. Yeah. It still got Herm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to let him go. But yeah, man. Who else? Missouri's probably gonna be at the bottom, like you said. Vandy at the bottom.
South Carolina. They'll probably be improved, but I don't expect them to be able to break into that conversation.
I had one of my cousins come in and just swear up and down that Rattler gonna redeem himself. I don't see it, man.
I think Rattler could have a good season. I just don't know if it's enough.
He was talking like he was going back to his preseason Heisman favorite for him. I'm just like, no, bro, I don't see
Nah,
it. Not at South Carolina. If he had chose a different school, maybe, or maybe even stayed at Oklahoma now that Caleb's gone and Lincoln Riley's gone. But yeah, I don't see it happening at South Carolina. Not enough talent around him to build to be one of the top quarterbacks. Anything for Hawaii?
I mean, they let Vandy put 63 on them, so
Right.
I ain't got much to say
I didn't
about
want to
that.
just act like they weren't in the game. I had to acknowledge them for a second.
It was I mean, they were in the game for a half. They really were. I mean, I watched it. It was 21, I think 21-10 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was a close competitive game in the first half. And then but then man, that third quarter happened, and it was like every time, like if I got up to go get something, looked at my phone, Vandy was scoring again. It was an insane third quarter that they had. Now my question is, how many games is it going to take for Vandy to score 63 points total after this?
Let's check this schedule out. Let's see who they got. So they might not put nothing against us. Alabama defense should be much improved and better with another year of young defense.
They have Wake Forest, Northern Illinois, then Bama before their bye week.
They're gonna score at least 20 in both of those games.
You think so?
At least you can Wake Forest. Northern Illinois, I don't know too much about them, but Wake Forest definitely at least 20.
At least 20. So that gives them 40 points, and then they come into Tuscaloosa.
That's 0. And then about week's another 0. They got Ole Miss. They might put up 7 or 10 somewhere in there. Another 0 against Georgia. So they got a chance with Missouri.
So we thinking after that 63 point, explosion, it might be week 8 or 9 before they.
I'm about to say it may take 6 weeks, 6-7 weeks to get back to that point.
Man, that's something right there.
Hell no.
Man, one of the other big games from that week was, of course, the Nebraska Northwestern game that was held in Ireland. So you have that. Did you see the decision to kick an onside kick when you were up by 11 points in the third quarter by Nebraska?
Stupid decision. He thought he was Sean Payton coming out the Super Bowl at halftime.
Man, I don't know. Scott Frost, man, he just can't seem to cut it at that high of a level. He had that great pretend national championship season at Central Florida, left to go to his alma mater, and that's the worst part, man. This is where this dude played at and things of that nature, and he's just not been able to get the job done. They have lost, I think it was 7 consecutive games decided by 7 points or less.
Let him go, man. I know it looks good that he used to play for y'all and all that. He's I wouldn't say a historic coach, but he's very known now at this point. But at the same time, it's time.
He's a worse version of Mike Shula.
Right. It's time to be a coordinator, bro. Just hang it up, be offense, defense coordinator somewhere. It's cool, man. They get paid too.
That is true. That is true.
But yeah, man. Ultimately, Northwestern won 31-28. Case Thompson had a solid game. Other than those 2 picks, he threw.
And one of those picks was bad, man. I don't know if you saw it. It was towards the end of the game, about a minute and a half left. Nebraska's got the ball. They're going to try to at least get in field goal range. It was a little bit behind the wide receiver or the tight end. It hits him in the hands, and then he just absolutely lets it bounce off, and it lands in the lap of the Northwestern defender.
Plays like that, it's one of those mistakes you fix with practice. I don't know. It's just like team morale, all that played into it. If he probably tried a little harder, if they were playing a little better, the coach's decision, like you said, to do the onside kick, like little stuff like that can definitely change the whole game and how a player thinks. For Northwestern, they had a good game on the ground, over 200 yards rushing. Couple receivers making plays. But yeah, it's hard for a game by Northwestern, 31-28 3-point game victory. Not very much there. And then of course we got Utah State versus UConn. Warm up game for their butt whooping against Bama coming this weekend. Of course. Let's see what they got going on over here.
Man, it was a pretty solid game from what I saw. Their quarterback looked good. Bonner had 281 yards and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. They've got a running back that I saw Byron Young talk about yesterday. Tyler, he's really explosive, really shifty. From the clips that I saw of that game, I don't like to do this, but it's the best way to put it. He's probably a poor man's version of a Jameer Gibbs with his athleticism and ability to make plays. Had 161 yards. I don't think he'll have that type of success this weekend, but it doesn't look bad in the grand scheme of things for what they're doing at Utah State. I don't expect this game to be close at all when you look at it this Saturday, but I think it could actually be uglier than people think for a specific reason.
The spread I saw earlier was 41.5, which I actually got predicted if I looked it up. I had 48.7. I at least gave him a touchdown, maybe a late game touchdown once the second defense is in. That's about it.
Yeah, but and the reason I think this game could be a little worse is, you normally see this type of game for Alabama as the third game of the season, the game before the Iron Bowl. So there's been a little bit, Alabama's able to get into a flow of things, get a little loose, and then so the starters don't play that long. Well, this is week 1. Bama's going to Austin next weekend, and we don't yet know what Texas is this year. Now, do I think Texas is going to be able to truly compete? I don't believe so. I think they're probably a year away from being ready to compete. I think Sarkisian's doing a great job out there. But going into that game, a hostile environment, an 11 a.m. game, these guys need to get some repetition because you're talking about a quarterback that's going out there with brand new weapons across the board. Alabama replaced starting running back, all 3 wide receivers. So I see the starters
and a backup tight end.
And I see Alabama playing those guys a little bit longer than normally you would see in these games to get that continuity, that ability to gel and make things happen.
And fix some plays they haven't completely executed yet.
Yeah, so I see this one potentially being a little bit worse simply because I think Saban's going to play those guys on offense and defense a little bit longer because you got to get your legs up under you.
Right. You think we see Bryce going to halftime? After halftime?
Oh, yeah. I think we'll see Bryce. Whew, man, I think you could see Bryce late into the third quarter.
Oh, wow. I want to see a lot of Jalen Milroe.
Oh, I do too. And I do too. And that's the thing about it. Like, I want to see I want to see some of these other guys as well that we've got. I want to see what Leary can do actually being back at wide receiver. I want to see what Harrell can do. I want to see what Brooks can do with a year of experience under his belt. I want to see what some of these guys on defense can do that we have that are younger. I want to see Deontay Lawson. I want to see Blackshire. I want to see Otis get a fair amount of snaps. I want to see Braswell more. I want to see all these guys get out there and do their thing a little bit more. But
Della Turner get a full season.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one. But I think it's going to be a little bit delayed. I think when you're looking at Bama's schedule, you have Utah State this week, but it's week 1. Then you've got Texas. I think ULM Monroe is when you're going to see that game happen where Alabama plays some of those backups and gets those guys a little bit more reps and things of that nature. But week 1, I think you're going to see a heavy dose of the ones.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Last game of week 0, we got North Carolina versus Florida A&M. Like we mentioned off air, quarterback Drake May, a guy we thought was going to be at Bama and be the next, Tuas and Jalen and Mac Jones, whatever like that. Play for North Carolina now. Had a pretty good game, man. 29-37, 294 yards, 5 touchdowns. Playing against Florida A&M, who put up 24 points surprisingly, despite being a smaller HBCU. Um, but yeah, Drake May played pretty good, man. Looked good.
Yeah, first start.
First start. Of course, no Sam Howell for North Carolina. Finally went on to the NFL. But yeah, man, Mike Brown got him playing. Maybe they could make some noise in the depleting ACC.
Yeah, man. When you look at the ACC, it's kind of wide open.
Definitely.
Of course, I think Clemson will be a little bit improved. DJ Ungale. Oh, that's the last name right there, brother. I think he'll be improved this year. I think the weapons around him will be able to take another step. They're very senior laden across that defense, especially up front with KJ Henry, Xavier Thomas, just to name some of those guys. So I think they'll be improved as well. Just at the end of the day, I don't know who's gonna come out of there. I mean, Miami might come out. We just don't really know at this point. That's probably the ACC is probably the biggest question mark conference as far as who you think is going to win it.
Mm-hmm.
I think people feel confident in saying Oklahoma is still probably the top dog in the Big 12. You've got Bama, Georgia. You've got Ohio State. Michigan made noise last year. Michigan State. You go out to the Pac-12, even though they're about to implode, you still have Oregon highly rated. You got USC coming back. But in the ACC, man, it's wide open. I'm talking about absolutely wide open. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out through the course of the season.
Oh, yeah. North Carolina definitely had an opportunity to take that conference by storm. For Florida A&M, their quarterback, I can't say his name, I think Mousa, completed 28 of 38 passes, for 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. Got sacked 3 times. A pretty solid game by him. I wouldn't say he was the reason for their struggles. Defense let them down, let them put up 56 points. Of course, not very much from the run game. But yeah, man, maybe they get much better with like the rest of the HBCU coming up. And then finally, we move on to week 1. And first game we're going to look into is the Notre Dame
Ohio State
game. I was going to say Georgia. Ohio State game. Me personally, I got Ohio State winning. I think it's just too much firepower. I know Notre Dame come in ranked high as well, but I think Ohio State, even though they lost all these great receivers and start running back, I think they're gonna be even better, man. Marvin Harrison Jr. is like the real deal. Jackson Smith is probably the best receiver in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud come back. Right. I mean, this team's loaded.
The defense is gonna be even better.
They got Jack Sawyer and JT Tiamala, who looks like they're gonna take a step forward. But man, yeah, just Ohio State and Alabama are just turning into these wide receiver factories and maybe potentially quarterback factories. Alabama's a little bit ahead of the curve with guys like Jalen too and Matt. But I mean, with Justin Fields, I think he'll have a successful season this year with the help that they've added. I'm going to go Ohio State as well. With Trayvon Henderson, I mean, he's probably one of the most electric running backs in the country. And as you said, JSN, Jackson Smith, and Nigba is probably the number one wide receiver in the country at this point. He could potentially lose it to somebody else, but right now, that guy, after what he did last year, and you're talking about he's having to share catches and targets with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Yeah, I mean, so you're two top. I think they're both in the top 10, or was it 10 and 11? They might have been 10 and 11.
Yeah, it was 10. I think
Olave was 11.
Yeah.
So you're talking about two guys that went in the first third of the NFL draft, and he had the best season out of all of them. When you look at the number standpoint, of course, that helps when you have a record-setting bowl performance.
Right.
But no, I think it's just too much firepower. Notre Dame coming in with Marcus Freeman. I think he'll be able to have success there. But as game one as a head coach, man, this is a tall task. Tall task.
Yeah, man. I think it's just definitely one. I think they probably take a step back in this course in the game. They probably fall down to closer to the 10, maybe after this game, at starting number 5. But yeah, Notre Dame, it just one of those hiccup games. They got plenty of time to bounce back. Do you see them as a playoff team or
Ohio State?
Notre Dame? Of course, Ohio State's probably gonna be around, but Notre Dame, they them starting out with at 5. You know,
man, I think Notre Dame has to be undefeated through the regular season to be able to make the playoffs,
including the Ohio State game. They can't lose.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have to beat Ohio State, and I think that's just part of the problem of when you're in independent school, you don't have a conference championship game to participate in. I could see them. Just look. Let me look at their schedule real quick. When you break things down for Notre Dame, I think they drop this weekend, and then I think they go on a bit of a run, and they finish with Clemson, so I think that could really be the determining factor.
Right.
I think they drop this one. I think it's it's a 17.5 point spread from what I saw, and I'm just not sure.
They got Marshall. They got Cal. UNC could be a hiccup. Like I said, we mentioned with Drake May being one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. BYU coming in ranked. Stanford, UNLV, probably both our games win. Syracuse to win. And like you mentioned before, Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I see 2 losses easy on the schedule for them. This week, yeah, I think they almost bookend the seasons with Ohio State and Clemson. So yeah, they don't have to play USC this year, which is weird.
You sure? Yeah.
Do they?
26.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, shoot, that's another one potentially.
So depending on how Clemson and USC, they could bounce back from this loss and somehow make it. I don't see it. Like I said, without having a conference championship to lean their hat on, they probably right outside the playoff top 4. Maybe if they extended it to 8, 6, whatever, they had a chance.
I'll say this. It also depends on what the other conferences do as far as cannibalizing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Could they sneak in? Alabama, Georgia drop a game during the course of the season, then turn around and they're playing each other for the SEC championship. And whoever, you're not going to have a 2-loss team most likely getting in. So that might cannibalize. The Big 12 will cannibalize. You have Michigan, Ohio State, they'll cannibalize each other. So all these other conferences have teams that if they're able to either win this game and win out, or if they drop this game and win out, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them there.
Is the Michigan game the game that could stumble Ohio State?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, it's always going to be that game. They have a lot of guys returning. They did lose Haskins from the running game. Lost Aiden Hutchinson, but got both quarterbacks back in McCarthy and McNamara. So to see how that 2-quarterback system works. Blake Corum's a very explosive running back, and I think he can have a very successful season. The question is, can they have that number 2 guy that type of system needs? So, but I think Michigan will be able to compete. I think Michigan State, with both their quarterback and their wide receiver coming back, they did lose Kenneth Walker III. So if they're able to replace that run game, they could be in the conversation again. So I think that's how that plays out in the Big 10.
Okay. Moving back to the SEC, we got Utah versus Florida. Utah coming in ranked number 7, if I'm not mistaken. Very surprising, honestly. I figured with the losses they had on their defense, I haven't played very much to the offense. I heard they got a pretty solid quarterback. But with Florida being the SEC team in this matchup, could it be a closer game than expected?
Oh, yes. I mean, when you look at a guy like Anthony Richardson, what he's able to do, talent-wise, athletically, I think he's the type of guy that can keep you in any game or win you any game if he's able to translate that ability and athleticism to the field. Like we said, Napier coming in, he's a Saban disciple, as we like to call him. I think he's able to bring some things that might be able to change the culture down at Florida and get them back on the right track. So I definitely think they can keep this a game. When you look at Utah, as crazy as it sounds, they have the better overall roster as far as what they're returning at quarterback. They've got multiple running backs coming back, a few wide receivers. Their defense took a couple hits in some spots. But they've got one of the top corners in the country, Clark Phillips III, coming back. They actually got Florida transfer Mohamed Diabate, who played at Auburn High School, transferred in. He's going to be playing outside linebacker for them. So, I mean, they've got some guys. So I think it just really depends on how good Florida's defense is against that offense. And I think that's where the game is decided.
Okay. Who's your winner for the game?
I'm an SEC homer.
Same.
All the way through. But when you look at this matchup, and just because you don't know what you're going to get out of Anthony Richardson yet, I have to lean Utah because of all of the experience.
Okay. I'm going to stay home and go with Florida. I haven't read very much about Utah at the moment, but definitely Florida having that pedigree of being an SC school and being one of the top recruiters in the nation. I think talent-wise, they should be able to compete. And like you said, the fact of Richardson could put them over the top as far as winning and go, and also him not being very experienced with competing last year for a starting job with Jones last year could definitely hold him back and possibly lose this game. They should be one of the better team in the SEC East outside of Georgia and Kentucky. Next game we have what's that in the SEC? Arkansas, Cincinnati. Arkansas, of course, they lost Trayvon Burks to the Tennessee Titans in the first round this season. But they are bringing back their quarterback. A guy from Bama, Drew Sanders, off their defense, who's now playing inside linebacker from what I've heard off air. And we also Cincinnati have losses as well. Starting quarterback Desmond Ritter, selected by the Falcons. Alec Pierce, receiver, Sauce Gardner, cornerback, Jerome Ford, and running back. So both teams have some major losses to the NFL. This game could go either way. I think I'm leaning more towards Arkansas. We're kind of one of those just home picks for me.
Oh, man, I'm going Arkansas all the way just because of everything Cincinnati did lose. And with what you have returning with Arkansas and some of the guys that you had come in, you're talking about KJ Jefferson coming back, man, an absolute tank at quarterback,
Right.
6'3", 240 plus pounds. That dude is a tank. Then you add Raheem Sanders at running back, 6'2", almost 230 pounds. Then Trey Knox, who had really had a breakout freshman year at Arkansas. With him and Burks, looking like an amazing tandem. Then Knox kind of fell off the last couple of years, but he's put on some weight. He's moved to tight end. So now you have a guy that has wide receiver experience playing tight end at 6'5", 245 pounds. They got the multiple transfers in. Jaden Hasselwood from Oklahoma, big 6'3" target at wide receiver. Then you go over to the defensive side of the ball, and you've got Bumper Hill returning. You've got Drew Sanders coming in. You've got a couple guys across that defensive line that have a little bit of experience and are going to be able to contribute. DBs, a lot of them returning. Hudson Clark III.
A lot of experience in that secondary. A lot of juniors, juniors, seniors in that secondary.
So I'm going Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to be a really competitive team this year in the SEC and has the opportunity to make some noise if they're able to stay healthy and win some close games.
What are they ranked for you in the SEC West?
They're probably sitting, man, honestly, they're probably 2 or 3. Probably 2 or 3. Bama 1. I'll say 2A, 2B between Texas A&M and Arkansas.
Okay.
Just flip a coin. Whoever wins that game's the better of the two.
Right.
LSU
Auburn together, or
I'm going to go Ole Miss after that.
Ole Miss.
Okay. I'm going to go Ole Miss after that because I think what Kiffin was able to do, bringing in Dart at quarterback, Treggs at tight end. Oh my goodness, I just forgot his name. Zach Evans. Yeah. Who when he was coming out was the top rated running back in his class. So yeah, man. I mean, the guys he was able to get transfer in, I think they're going to be able to compete, and I don't think it'll be that big of a drop off without Matt Corral.
Okay. So Bama won, A&M and Arkansas 1A, 1B, no, 2A, 2B, and then you said who?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
I'm gonna go
Arkansas
Ole Miss.
5. Okay, pretty solid list.
I think Auburn might be at the. It's crazy to say that Auburn or LSU is going to be the worst team in the West. I think Mississippi State will be able to be better than either one of them.
I have a lot of LSU fans on my timeline, so I hope they enjoy their take.
Hey.
Let's see. What's another game we have on the schedule? Georgia game, of course.
Georgia, Oregon, man. And I think that's going to be
game of the weekend, possibly right here.
Yeah, I think it might be. It's either that or Notre Dame, Ohio State. Those are probably the 1A, 1B of game of the week, just depending on if you're an SEC fan, Big Ten fan, Pac-12 fan. This one's kind of tough for me, just because both teams lost a good amount of guys. Oregon had the tragic loss of their tight end, Spencer Webb, over the summer. And I feel like he was going to be a big part of the offense. They had their running back Travis Dye transfer to USC, but they were able to get Bo Nix to transfer in. They're replacing,
but I think this is shit help.
Yeah, you look at they're having a new head coach.
Of course, the ball going, yeah.
With Dan Lanning, I think is his name, from Georgia. Just kind of really, but they've got some guys on that defense.
Panay Sewell, brother.
Yeah, Noah Sewell. Another guy who, if he can stay healthy, Justin Flo, could be a really dominant linebacker. So I mean, they've got some key things. Then when you look at Georgia, they have Stetson Bennett. Yeah,
2 running backs.
Stetson Bennett's coming back. You're going to get Eric Gilbert this year, but what is he going to? He's a tight end.
And they still
got got Brock Bowers. You've got Darnell Washington. This might be the most old school team in the country this year. 2 tight ends, and they might have 2 tight ends and stick Bowers or Gilbert out out wide, just because they're the best players on the best position group and potentially the best players on that offense. But their defense, man, they've got a lot coming back in the secondary.
Yeah, which is crazy. In general, normally when you see a defense lose that much, you'll think it'd be much left over. They still got Nolan Smith. They still got the D lineman,
Jalen Carter. They still got Keely Ringo.
Right.
But outside of those, I mean, but now the question is, because they lost so much, is that why those guys were able to be great? You know what I mean?
Right.
Was that unit able to be great because of all of those guys? How are these guys going to perform more when it has to be starting off this season a little more individual play and dominance? Like Jalen Carter has to be dominant because he doesn't have Jordan Davis next to him.
Right. Instead of being a rotation piece,
and having Trayvon Walker next to him. Can Nolan Smith be dominant without those guys, without Quay, without Nakobe, without Tyndall? Like, that's the question that's going to have to be answered until those other guys are able to come in and you can trust them. Can those guys who were dominant within that great defense, Devontae Wyatt, man, you just look at all the guys that this defense lost. Can these guys be dominant individually?
But if they can, man, the potential is crazy, man.
Especially without a doubt.
Jalen Carter, they talk he's better than Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker went number 1. You can't go higher than 1. Like,
yeah.
There's no position you can pick other than 1. But yeah, man, Jalen Carter gonna be one of the better D linemen. Nicobe D. Nolan Smith gonna be one of the better linebackers. But yeah, I definitely got Georgia beating Oregon. I think they're gonna ride the wave of being the next champions, man. They're gonna keep their same standard going into the season. I think they're probably gonna end the season undefeated until Bama comes to Georgia and beat them in the
Do not discount Tennessee. I'm telling you, man. I think Tennessee is going to be sneaky good.
I hear, man. Who was that?
Tennessee could be undefeated, or their only 2 loss. This is my prediction for Tennessee. They're either going to run the table, or their only 2 losses are going to be to Alabama and Georgia.
I was just about to say, Roman Harper predicting they go 9-2. So we'll see.
So that's and I guarantee his 2 losses were Bama and Georgia, weren't they?
Bama. It might be Bama, Georgia. No, matter of fact, no. Actually, he beat one of them. He said he gonna beat one of them. It might have been Georgia. Who they lost to? They had an early loss. And they went on a hot streak,
and then they played Bama, dropped it.
But yeah, man. We'll see. The SEC East part might be one of those divisions we might keep out more watching on. I know the West gonna be top heavy and really close in that middle pack with Ole Miss and Arkansas. Fight for that 2-3 spot. Oregon, as I mentioned earlier, they got to compete with USC. Stanford always puts up a good fight. Who else in the Pac-12?
I'm still Utah. Taking well, no, I might take Utah out of the Pac-12 this year.
Okay. That's the only team you should be expecting to go to the playoffs out of that team? Out of the
well, I don't even know if there'll be a playoff team. I just think they'll win it. Man, if I had to pick a playoff right now, if I had to pick a playoff right now, I'm gonna go Bama, Ohio State. Man, this year's tough because it's easy to say. You know what? I'll go. I'll go Oklahoma out of the Big 12.
Well, they are the Big 12.
I don't. They're losing a lot with Riley and some of the guys that transferred out.
Yeah,
but
I don't see them being very competitive.
Actually, you know what? I might go Oklahoma State with what they're returning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they're able to keep it together, they always blow a game they shouldn't. Then I'll go Utah. I'll go Utah.
Okay, they do get Pac-12 to get a team in. You think the USC expectations are too high?
Man, with what Lincoln Riley brought in, like
that's a ridiculous haul. That's like NFL free agency, literally.
No, that's really what it was. I mean, you think Jordan Addison from Pitt. You know, a lot of people gave him hate, but Shane Lee was a good linebacker when he played here as a true freshman after not expecting to have to play that year.
Right.
You look at Travis Dye from Oregon, bringing in Caleb Williams, bringing in Mario Williams, both from Oklahoma. And that's just to mention some of the guys. I mean,
these are preseason All-American type guys they brought in.
Yeah.
Caleb, Dye, Addison. Come on, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm up in the air, man. I think they could be good, but it can't just be those guys that buy in. It has to be the entire culture and team and everything that goes into it with USC. So I'll temper my expectations for USC. I think they'll compete, but I think they might just not be ready yet.
I don't know, man. This season, it had to be it because, of course, Doc probably going pro after this season. Addison, top 5 receiver, going to the draft this season. Caleb, of course, you got another year. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
What another game we got on the slate before we get to Bama? Uh, Pitt versus
Pitt, West
West
Virginia.
Virginia.
The
Tough, man.
the battle of the former Trojan quarterbacks.
Yeah, we got Keldon Slavis and JT Daniels, quarterback for both schools. Pitt had lost a lot, obviously, with Pitt going to the Steelers to stay home, and then Jordan Addison, well as some defenders on that defense. West Virginia, they have fallen off the map a lot recently over the last couple of years. Tough game to call. I'm going to go with Pitt. I have no idea the reason why. I'm just going
Yeah, I don't know much about these two teams as a whole. Of course, their quarterbacks were teammates together at USC before JT transferred to Georgia originally, and now is at West Virginia for his senior season, as well as Keaton going over to
both
Pitt.
their journeys are very wild.
Yeah.
Keldon going into last season was ranked to be one of the top quarterbacks coming in, along with
JT was too.
Yeah, JT was. I wouldn't put him up with Sam Howell with the rest of those guys, but he's definitely maybe 3 or 4 that could have been in a draft. Drafted a quarterback last season. And of course, we see what Bennett did, taking his spot and winning the national championship. So, and JT clearly wasn't that great going in.
Yeah, I mean, he just dealt with a lot of injuries, and that's been his problem, man. He got hurt at USC. That's why he ended up Slovis even got the job. Then he gets to Georgia. First year there, gets hurt, banged up, comes back, plays it. You know what the crazy thing is? He never lost a game at Georgia that he started.
Damn.
Never lost a game that he started.
That's crazy. I didn't know.
He just didn't start a lot of them. That's
Right.
the problem. And then that happens, and now he's at West Virginia. And then Slovis gets hurt. Have Jackson Dart come in, and he loses his job almost the exact same way to the up and coming true freshman. And so he leaves. So the fact that they're going to be competing against each other, I think, is going to be very interesting.
Do any of them get back to the NFL or superstardom form that they were predicted to have last season?
Who was that?
Do either Slavis or JT Daniels get back to that NFL?
I think
prospect.
I think they'll be able to work themselves into draftable consideration.
Just not first round.
No, I mean with these guys that you've got coming out potentially this year with Bryce, Stroud, Bryce,
Levis,
Richardson. I mean,
Van Dyke.
Yeah, Van Dyke. You got all these guys that I don't think it's possible.
All right, last game on the slate, we got. Who you pick? Pick.
I'm taking. You took Pitt.
I took
right?
Pitt.
I'm taking West Virginia just to be different.
On that comment. Oh yeah, I think we'll give us a tiebreaker. Last but not least, we got Bama versus Utah State. We hit on Utah State earlier on the game against UConn. This second part pretty much about Bama. We got Bryce coming back, former Heisman Trophy, right defending Heisman Trophy winner, coming back for his junior season. Another year under his belt, shooting pretty good. Replacing a lot of starters, but we replaced those starters with some good transfers. Jamar Gibbs and Tyler Harrell. He's not listed as a starter right yet, but I do expect some great things from him. He's a very fast, speedy guy. Could be our Jalen Waddle. Got Burton, could be a top receiver next year. Played at Georgia last season. Didn't get very much production, obviously because of their run game and their defense, who didn't keep them on the field very much. So
yeah.
Who else? My mind's about to put it blank.
You got Holden starting out there. Yeah, man, what you think about that, man? We hadn't seen a lot from him. He's had a couple splash moments. He's a little different type of wide receiver from most of the guys through this wide receiver run. He's a big body guy, more of a possession type.
Right.
I think he's going to have a great season. He's got a really good connection with Bryce. They've been roommates since they arrived at Alabama. So I think that could be a special connection.
Oh yeah, man. I think they're gonna do some great things. Holden and Young, just their receiving core in general, man. You even got Kobe,
Prince, the
Prince,
truth.
man, two freshmen getting ready to start, man. Got some big things from him. We know what Alabama have done developing receivers, man. Devontae Smith didn't play very much his freshman season, but ultimately became Heisman Trophy winner, first round pick. We know all that. So man, that receiving core is going to do some great things with Bryce Young, Camelot too, back here tight end. O line should be much improved with Tyler Steen. Steen coming in from Vandy. Another year under those young offensive line we had last year. Was it Okor? Emil Okor? Should have one better.
Ekior,
Ekior
Emil, yeah,
should have
Emil
one better
Ekior.
offensive line this year as well. Oh, that running back group, I forgot to mention them.
Dog, them boys deep.
Deep, bro. They did at least six. For real, you got Gibbs, of course, Rondell Williams, Trey Sanders, McKellen. They coming off injury, but if he can,
No, I think from what I mean, the fact that they're both, Williams and McClellan listed at number 2, lets me know that Saban and the staff and them themselves have enough faith in their ability to play and their knee and everything of that nature.
Oh yeah, for sure. I hope to see Jason go back to form, especially because he was a home run hitter last season, man. We had Brian Robinson getting a lot of those tough yards, first downs and short touchdowns, but when we needed a long distance home run touchdown, Jason was that guy for us. And then of course, Rodell was pretty great as well.
Oh yeah, man. I'm excited for the running back room. I'm excited for the wide receivers, as you said. We didn't even mention Christian Leary or Ja'Cory Brooks and what those guys are going to be able to do. I think you see, the Iron Bowl. I mean, so I think you'll see a deeper rotation of guys, just so you don't have a situation like last year happen again. This offense has a chance to be explosive. I think the line as a whole is better. Just across the board, J.C. Latham starting at right tackle, Dalcourt back at center, and he lost his job towards the end of the season, dealing with some injuries and things. But from what I've heard about him, man, he came back and has worked harder than anybody else and said, "This is my spot, and I'll give it back to you, McLaughlin, when I graduate." So I think that's really impactful. The shocker on the offensive line is probably Kendall Randolph starting at left guard over Xavier Cohen. But of course, we know Cohen took some time away from football this summer, dealing with some mental health issues and things of that nature. So I think Randolph is going to be able to do a solid job, and if he does,
even if Cohen does decide to come back, you can put Randall in another spot, and be just as fine.
Yeah, so I think once Cohen gets everything worked out and is focused back in, if Randolph slips at all, you have Cohen to plug and play.
Let's talk about that defense. Of course, we got Will Anderson coming back. Should be the best D-line, best pure pass rusher, and not only in college football but in the draft coming up. Should be a Heisman candidate. Honestly, in my opinion, he should have been over Aiden Hutchinson last season. But hey, I'm a Bama fan, so I'm not.
Homer.
Definitely. I'm just saying, man. Game for game.
No, I mean the numbers tell the story. I mean that is what it is. No, I mean I think this defense has a chance to be very phenomenal and very special when you look at what we have going on across the board. One thing that shocked me a little bit was Tim Smith starting at one of the defensive. Now I think he's a great player and very athletic, but he had been a nose tackle. But he slimmed down a lot. He's gotten himself in good shape to be able to move out and play DN. And that just lets me know, man, that dude's been working. And so now you have him who's more of a pass rusher coming off of that edge. You got Jaheim Otis listed as a bracketed starter with DJ Dale. So, this is a guy who, this time last year was over 400 pounds. And he's dropped, from what I've heard, around 70 to 80 pounds and just looks phenomenal. And it's hard to block. Then the linebackers, you got Jalen Moody starting.
Oh yeah.
at the wheel linebacker, Henry Toto back at Mike. I know a lot of people were questioning if Moody was going to be the starter, or if it was going to be Deontay Lawson, or maybe a guy like a Jahad Campbell come in and steal the spotlight. But hey, Moody has been able to prove himself through spring, through summer, through fall camp, and so it looks like he's earned that job, and it's going to be his to go. Did anything interest you about the secondary?
I'm looking at the depth chart and see that Eli Ricks is behind Kool-Aid. Um, I view Eli as one of the top corners coming into the draft, of course, leaving LSU and the things he did over there. I thought they were going to start opposite of each other, but seeing him behind Kool-Aid is very question. I'm not sure because he's a rest or what, but I'm definitely wondering why he's behind Kool-Aid.
I'm not sure. I don't think it has anything to do with the rest. I look at the fact he's been hurt since he got here.
Mm-hmm.
He missed the second half of last season with a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
It affected him all spring. He gets here, gets summer. He hasn't had a chance to fully be integrated into the defense and learn it, and then he gets hurt in fall camp.
Right.
And not only does he get hurt in fall camp, Kyrie Jackson gets hurt in fall camp. And now we got two guys that are in their second year on the Capstone. Terrion Arnold, who played very little last year, is now the corner starting opposite of Kool-Aid, which, of course, the fact that they're bracketed, I think we're going to see all four of these guys a good bit. There'll be a solid rotation. And that way, once again, how you don't want a situation like you had at wide receiver last year when the starters went down, you're able to prevent that from happening at the secondary position like it did when Job and Armar Davis got hurt last year.
Right.
So you're able to get more guys out there, more guys on the field, and I think that is extremely beneficial because those two positions were the deadliest for Alabama last year when it came to injuries.
True. Like you said, though the injury to Eli Ricks might have opened up a spot for Arnold when Ricks was out. Arnold played just good enough to be that starter and to hold it down. Maybe we do eventually get Kool-Aid and him on the opposite side. But if Arnold could hold it down, I wouldn't pull him. I'll keep him where he is. Maybe move some guy around in the slot in that star position. Of course, Malachi Moore is supposed to be a starter, but Branch over, man. What's going on with the Moore, man? Guy who was considered one of the top stock corners in the nation.
Man, when you look at Malachi, I mean, I don't know. It's not that he's played bad. Man, Branch has just played that good.
Right.
And that's one of those crazy things. It's like, dog, I'm out here working as hard as I can, giving it everything I got. And this dude just outworking me. And I can't do nothing. I'm giving everything I got, and this dude's just a little bit better. And I mean, so it's not a knock on Malachi. And when Bama goes six DBs, it'll be Malachi out there as well. I think you'll see a rotation with him and Branch at that star position. So these guys are those guys are good. I mean, that's what's happened. Even though Malachi has been the starter in name, Branch has almost played just as much through their first few years. So I don't see that really changing much this year.
The any game on Bama's schedule could be a problem. Of course, Ole Miss, who's had our numbers over the years a couple times. LSU, who's always competitive when it comes to the Bama game. Auburn, of course. A&M, all that smack they talked this summer. Texas, we know how much talent they've pulled from us and gotten better with Steve Sarkisian under him. One of those games or another game that you see as a hiccup game for Bama.
Alabama has a 3-game stretch that I think is might be the hardest 3-game stretch in the country. At Arkansas, home against Texas A&M, at Tennessee. Those 3 games will determine this season. I think Alabama has the talent and the ability to run the table, but Alabama can't get too high for any of those 3 games because you get too high for Arkansas, you might lay a dud against A&M. You get too high for A&M, you might lay a dud against Arkansas or Tennessee because you're looking ahead. You can't get too high for Tennessee because you're coming out of this, this mini gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Alabama has to just be able to play their game and stay in control of their mentality. I think around those 3 games, that's probably the toughest 3-game stretch in the country.
Oh yeah, for sure. Can't take Tennessee lightly. They have a very explosive offense. A&M, much improved. Despite they lost a couple players, but they retooled, and Jimbo is very confident in his team. So we'll see. Um, are they a playoff lock for you?
Bama?
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I'm going to say yes, man. I think this could be the most dangerous team in Alabama history, offensively and defensively. I think this team could be the 2000 Alabama offense and the 2011 defense.
2000 or 2000?
2020.
Okay.
2020.
Say, wait a minute.
Do that, my bad. 2020 offense with a 2011 defense combined.
Okay. What do you think the score gonna be for this game?
Man, I'm going to go 59-7.
Okay. Do give him a touchdown. Okay. I gave them as a touchdown as well. I gave them 48-7 Bama. 41.5 spread, like I mentioned earlier. Did not expect it to be the spread, but yeah, man. Bama about 48. I think they're gonna get to second, third quarter. They're gonna just tone down. Probably see. I really hope we see a little Jalen Mero for real, man. I really like the guy, huge guy. He's improved as a passer from what I've seen in the offseason. We know he can do with his legs, big, strong dude. So he can run a couple guys over. So watch out, Utah State. Yeah, man. And then so you can see how much depth we have on defense. Once they later the game gets into and gets further and further away from Utah State, we can get to see a young back of Bama have and protect the future, man. Then that's about it for our weekend slate of games. Any games you just want to talk about?
Man, I think we hit all the big ones, all the games that people are really going to be paying attention to this week. Man, it's exciting, man. College football's back, man. It's been a long 8 months having to hear Georgia fans and like, yeah. But here's the thing: if you're a Georgia fan and you've been talking, I can respect it.
Right.
I can respect it because you know what you beat us. If you're a Texas A&M fan and you've been talking, I can respect it because you beat us. But if you're an Auburn fan, if you're an LSU fan, if you're a fan of one of these other schools and you've been running your mouth, man, what you been talking about? Because last time we played, you lost.
Right.
Like, we took y'all to 4 overtimes and we were bad. You still lost. No. I mean, that don't mean nothing to me, man. Get on, shake off.
Right. If anything, those 4 overtime gave us the Heisman. I'm just saying.
That
was the Heisman moment for me.
Oh, that 97-yard drive. Ooh. When he just looked over and gave him that quick little smile. Yeah. And it was 4th and 10. Yeah, buddy.
Oh, another question I asked everybody, Bama fans. Is Bryce the best quarterback Bama's ever had? Just playing the quarterback position, no accolades included, just playing the quarterback position. Is he the best quarterback?
No.
And Bama has no. Who you got?
When you're just talking about skill, are you just talking about skill set?
Skill set, no
Tua.
championships, no high
Tua. Man, and that's not a knock on Bryce.
Oh no.
Bryce is easily number 2.
I was about to say, yeah.
Easily number 2.
I got Bryce at 1, honestly. From his poise to his delivery to just him playing the quarterback just in general. I think Tua might get the edge as far as how he handled the moments. I think Bryce can definitely learn a lot from Tua.
They're very similar. They're very similar. So I mean, Bryce has the Heisman, no doubt. I think if Tua doesn't have the injuries down the stretch in
That's why I said no,
2018,
just
I
talent.
think he probably would have been in that conversation if not won it. He'd have been deeper in that conversation if he hadn't won it. But because who won it in 2018? Kyler? Yeah, Kyler Murray.
Won.
Yeah, you can't tell me 2-1 is good if not better than Kyler that year.
Oh, definitely.
That
was you hurt his hip, right?
No, that I think that was ankle.
That was 18, okay.
Yeah, because that was when
19.
Yeah,
Mexico.
Yeah, because 18 he hurt his ankle and Jalen came in and won the SEC championship game. But no, man, Tua is just special, man. Growing up an Alabama fan, getting into football and into football really in the early 2000s, man. I heard my dad talk about some guys from his playing days and things of that nature. Gary Hollingsworth was one of the best, just like game managers and things of that nature. It was just very cerebral. He played with the guy Danny Woodson, who, if he hadn't been in trouble and things like that, my dad said this guy was Randall Cunningham Jr. He was Vince Young before Vince Young. Yeah, I mean, this dude was a freak from what my dad said. So I hear that. Then, to getting into it, and you had Zhao and Watts, then Kroll, and you once you get to Kroll, there's a slight dip when you get to JP and McElroy. But then if you really look at it, since McElroy took over, it's been a slow uptick in quarterback play. McElroy, AJ, Blake Sims, Coker, Jalen, what he was able to do with his arm and his legs, Tua with his poise, his ability to just his accuracy, man, just to be able to put a ball anywhere that he wanted to on a football field. Mac and his accuracy, his ability, to be probably the greatest game manager, that Bama's ever seen. And then you just look at
Mac came out of nowhere, man. I remember, that first season we had the DUI. I said, boy,
oh yeah, we in trouble.
I hope we have Tua and Jalen forever. I don't think Mac ever gonna play. Yeah, he played when Tua went down with a hip injury, and then that whole season of 2020. He had an argument for Heisman as well. I know.
Oh, without a doubt.
I know Devontae had the season he had, but
Devontae had the season he had because Mac was able to do what they helped
Najee.
each other. Yeah.
He had Najee, to where he had an argument too. Near 2,000 yards, over 20 touchdowns, almost 10 receiving. It was. Yeah, that season was crazy, man.
But man, Bryce is special, and I think because you can't just go off of talent, you have to go off of accolades. Man, Bryce locks it up this year as the greatest quarterback in Alabama history with a national championship, hands down.
Right. And then you think about the Hall of Famers from back in the day. You got fucking Jake the Snake. You got Joe McNamara, Bart Starr. Come on, bro. Like,
oh yeah.
These guys are Pro Football Hall of Fame, man. So for Bryce to be in his second full season, and considered already to be the greatest quarterback in Bama history, man, it's crazy. I think he's a fusion between Jalen and Tua.
If he ran more, I just wish he'd use his legs a little bit more
and run smart.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, because that's what I thought when he first was coming in. I was like, man, this guy could be Jalen and Tua combined.
Yeah,
and you see the moments. Right. You see the moments of that elusiveness, being able to make guys miss and extend plays. Right. But sometimes it's like, take off.
It's
take off.
Like you don't
take
want
off.
to be the prototypical of the
black quarterback.
Right. The stereotype of
man. Screw that.
Right.
Win games. Win games how you can win games.
Right. That's what I like about Malik, man. Malik Willis, guy who got drafted by Tennessee, man. It's hard. I know they say they're gonna redshirt him, but I don't see how they do that, bro. I think he should actually compete with Willis, man. Willis looks good.
I think Tannehill is still currently the best.
I mean, of course, you go with the veteran, he got the experience, but it's gonna be hard to ignore the noise of Willis. If he does play any this season, it's gonna be hard for him not to be like, let's leave him out there.
No, I agree.
Like Pat Mahomes, if Ryan Tannehill fall off like Alex Smith did and have an injury like he did, it might be over for that man.
Oh, I agree with that.
But yeah, man, that was quick NFL. This has been X and O Sports preview show, Gameday preview show provided by Texas A&M. TitletownTV. This has been Xavier Houston Sr. I've been HostsKaRon, Casey Caddell. You already know. We'll see you guys next week
Yes,
with some
sir.
NFL next week.
Yeah.
Week 1. I got a fantasy show coming out Friday.
And we will be breaking down the Bama. We'll continue this hopefully throughout the entire course of the season. If one of us can't be here,
Right.
the other one will man the show that week. But this is going to be a weekly thing. You're going to see a little, you're going to get to hear a little bit about what happened the week before, previewing what's going to come up that week, and as well as touch along the big games across the country in college football and some of the key matchups in the NFL as well.
Oh, yeah, man. Hope y'all guys enjoyed our show. Please like, share, and subscribe to Titletown TV. Please like and share, comment on X and O Sports on Facebook and YouTube. We out.